Well. What do we have here? Of course, I was going to comment on this. Of course, I'm British. I need to talk about Posh and Bex and what is going on with their eldest son, Brooklyn. I've never had a big interest in her, and I'm not into football. I had not had a big interest in David Beckham. And them two as a couple, I don't know, I was like a kid at the time of their like mass popularity, so to be honest, I don't even know why I know so much information, or why you can ask most British people and they will tell you that they know of Posh and Bex, or they have heard about this news that has come out. Brooklyn Beckham has come out with this great big statement, like bashing Victoria, who's his mum, bashing the family, saying that she was like dancing inappropriately at his and Nicola's wedding. Apparently Victoria was ruining everything, and her and David have been basically just putting out tabloid news article trying to slam Brooklyn. And it's been an absolute mess because this whole time, for well, at least for the past year or so, there has been some underwater commotion going on that Victoria and Nicola, the mum and the son's wife, are not getting along. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That screams boy mum problems, boy mum problems. Yeah, 110% toxic boy mum's problem. That's exactly what it screams like. But I'm gonna go through what he said, and then also I want to go through some things that I don't even know how, but I did know because I've been keeping a little sneaky tab on this for the past year or so. So some things that are actually contradicting. I am really not on anyone's side. So just to recap, okay, so Victoria and David, they have 4 children. I think this is in order: Brooklyn, Romeo, Cruz, and Harper. They 3 boys, and the youngest is a girl. And they have always been this, what presented to be like the power family, okay? The well-to-do rags to riches, even though I don't really believe it was ever a rags to riches affair, especially coming from Victoria's side, but whoever, they debate on that all they want. David kind of earning this legendary footballer title. Brooklyn, I feel some part of me has always felt a bit bad for him. They tried making Brooklyn into David number 2, okay? Tried to get him to follow in his dad's footsteps, okay? That was kind of mistake number 1 that I could see was going on. They tried, and he just wasn't good enough. He went and he was in the like young training academy for Arsenal or something a bit like that. Once again, don't know much about football. But he was never offered the scholarship post that, and that's when, according to him, because this all came out when he was 16, he just felt like he was never going to be as good as his dad. He didn't even really like football, so he peeled away from that. You're going to perpetually be in your parents' shadow. And I mean, Victoria and David have definitely thrusted their kids into the limelight. Brooklyn way more than any of the other ones. So it started off with the football, and then he wanted to like pave the way. And by the way, I've got absolutely zero doubt in my mind that the only reasoning why Brooklyn was able to get these amazing opportunities, which just a running-of-the-mill person would not, is because of his family, okay? So he then went and he was like, I want to do, I think it was photography, and he was like 16, 17 at the time. And people took the piss out of it. Like, if we remember, because it was trying to come across as this like prestigious thing, because that I feel is what his parents were going for. We have to remember this, we're talking about a 16, 17-year-old. Even I was thinking when I was seeing this elephant situation, I was like, he can't be serious. Because I was young, I didn't realise that he was actually that age. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't comprehend. It was OTT. Like, it was way OTT. Like, once again, his parents took something that he said he was interested in and just, like, blew it up.
Yeah, big issue with that, but I didn't mention here. He got the opportunity to be a front and centre photographer for Burberry fashion show, and people were screaming Nepo baby, screaming it, and it didn't end up well, and he never really heard him talk about photography ever again.
It was trying to come across as this like prestigious thing, because that I feel is what his parents were going for. Moving on to the chefing thing, once again, they wouldn't let him on his own path go to culinary school and train and, you know, finest thing. It couldn't ever be that. So then we then have clips of him on TikTok, of him making like a cheese wheel and all of this, and like people just absolutely ripping the crap out of him. Because of, you know, his quote unquote, you know, failed cooking career, when really, was any of that the way that he wanted to do it? Probably not. It was his parents once again going behind the scenes, pulling it and getting him these opportunities, not quite realizing that that's going to make it, in one way that's easier because you've already got a shortcut there. Another bit way harder because you're nowhere near that level. Like, you're nowhere near, you're years and years away from that level. Some people might be like, yeah, those are loving parents, okay? They want the best for their son. They're using their opportunities to give him opportunities. Yeah, some people might think of that. I don't think of it like that. I think that them, without them realizing it, have really disabled him from being able to figure out what he wants to do naturally.
My dad in England, he always had them in his wine cellar, so I've always been really curious of how to open one. Getting the sweat on. I'm like properly sweating. Can you see it on camera?
Brooklyn's never really found his thing. And that must be really difficult when you have Victoria and David who are like constantly hustling, and they always have done, okay? Constantly. That's how they got to where they are. And that must be really, really, really difficult. He met Nicola, was it Coachella years ago? Initially, they didn't like each other from what I've read. And then they grew closer together, I believe, at like Leonardo DiCaprio's something birthday. This is what I mean. These are the kind of events that they go to, right? Nicola Peltz. Now, you think like the Beckhams are rich. They've got a net worth, I believe it's of 500 million. Her daddy, we're talking like 1 point something billion. Billionaires, okay? She is the heiress to billions. And if we're talking about money and we're talking about celebrities, of course, we always have to keep that in mind, okay? We have to. It's the elephant in the room. You got to think about it, okay? The difference between 10 million and 10 billion is a hell of a lot. And there's always been speculation and rumour that Victoria and Nicola do not get along. Now, Brooklyn and Nicola got married last year. They got married, they had a big wedding, and oh my god, it was like the royal family. I mean, no, it wasn't, but it was like, it might as well have been a royal family wedding. It was everywhere. I don't think it was televised, but I think if Victoria Beckham had it her way, she would have made it televised. I believe there was about 500 people in attendance, so it'll be very interesting to see if anyone has the tape of Victoria dancing inappropriately with her son. Anyway, so they had a wedding, and after that, there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of tension. There was actually a newspaper article that came out last year after the wedding of insiders talking about how uncomfortable Victoria had made the wedding, which was extremely interesting. And that was the very first time that we really heard that there were issues within the family. You know, they're unfollowing Brooklyn, Brooklyn's unfollowing them, so we knew that something bad was happening. There was also this great big faff about a wedding dress. It says, Mark Anthony, who is a friend of the Beckhams, offered to perform as a gift at the wedding. Before the show began, Mark Anthony asked Brooklyn to come to the stage and then announced, the most beautiful woman in the room tonight, come on up, ... Victoria Beckham. The source claims that the new bride allegedly felt that Victoria ruined her wedding and couldn't understand why. Well, if that is not just toxic boy mum coded, like, that is something that Madison Humphrey would be making TikTok skits over. But reps for Victoria and David and Anthony did not return people's request for comment. A second insider adds that the entire room was so shocked and said it was such a jaw-dropping moment that it left the whole room in absolute shock. You could hear a pin drop. Apparently, Nicola ran from the room crying, and she felt like Victoria did it on purpose. When she knew it was a pre-planned romantic dance meant for Brooklyn and Nicola, what she couldn't understand was why. But a source who attended the wedding says the evening played out differently. For starters, says the guest, Nicola and Brooklyn had their formal first dance early in the evening, and she also had the traditional first dance with her father. The source who attended the wedding says Mark Anthony's performance came much later in the evening, later on when everyone was casual. Mark Anthony performed and got people dancing. Brooklyn and Victoria danced, David and Harper danced, and everyone had a good time. Problems were arising, and also around that time as well, it was David Beckham's 50th birthday, and Brooklyn and Nicola were not in attendance. So that's interesting. So we have two different statements. Where are the wedding tapes? I need to see them because I can't make a formal decision on who's been right and wrong. Let's keep hold of our hats there for a second and let us actually see what he said. Actually got like quite a sore throat, so I've been drinking herbal tea. I was having a conversation with my best mate the other day who leaves their herbal tea bags in. I do, because it makes the flavour more intense the further down you go. But then my partner says, no, that's gross because it's like too overpowering. I want to know what everyone else does as well. Anyway, beyond the point. My mum leaves them in as well, so I think that's where I got it from. Vanilla chai, in case you're wondering. I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. I do have a quick question. My quick query is, who went to the press and leaked that bit of info about Nicola running and being all upset in her wedding? Like, who was that? It might have just been someone who was in attendance who wanted to sell a story, or was that Nicola and Brooklyn? For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. Recently, I have seen with my own eyes the lengths that they'll go through to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, to preserve their own facade, but I believe the truth always comes out. The reasoning why I gave so many examples at the beginning of forcing him to do these things when he didn't want to do it or wasn't ready is because, yes, I do feel that family have always been very performative, and that is just a symptom of their performativeness of, look at my son, look at what he can do, when he wasn't ever comfortable with that. My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. My mum cancelled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear her design, forcing her to urgently find a new dress. Weeks before our big day, my parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name, which would have affected me, my wife, and our future children. I do want to just draw a bit of attention. So there was this British Vogue article last year, and it is titled Nicola Peltz's custom Valentino couture wedding dress was like a work of art. Peltz's custom wedding look is the culmination of a year's worth of conversations with Valentino creative director Pia Piccoli's team. I'm really sorry. 2 trips to the Rome HQ and 2 US fittings. The head seamstresses even journeyed to Miami to make sure every detail was immaculate on the big day. It was the ultimate couture experience. Some really beautiful names in there. I'm really awful with pronunciations. And does she look stunning? Apparently her hair and makeup was an ode to 90s Claudia Schiffer, which you can 100% tell. That is not adding up with what Brooklyn's saying. What is printed in the Vogue article is that the dress that she wore, I mean, they freaking started making it a year before. Maybe she was gonna make the wedding dress and then Nicola decided that she didn't want to go with it. Maybe that upset Victoria. Maybe then she was being a little bit spiteful because she was like, you know, which Nicola is very much in her own mindset to do whatever she wants. This is me being presumptuous. But no, that can't be true because we have it on record that is That's not what happened. They were adamant on me signing before my wedding date, his name away, because then the terms of the deal would be initiated. My holdout affected the payday, and they have never treated me the same since. During the wedding planning, my mum went so far as to call me evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny Sandra and Nicola's nonny at our table because they both didn't have their husbands. Both of our parents had their own tables equally adjacent to ours. Okay, so they're now making Victoria and David out to be like really heartless. What does signing away the rights to your name? I don't know what that. I'm not rich enough for that. What does that mean? Someone help me. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm not rich enough for that. The night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere this last summer. My mum hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, to a romantic love song. In front of our 500 wedding guests, Mark Anthony called me to the stage, wherein the schedule was planned to be my romantic dance with my wife, but instead my mum was waiting to dance with me instead. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. We wanted to renew our vows so we could create new memories of our wedding day that bring us joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. Oh my god, like Victoria last night, I bet you, she was downing, she was chugging the wines. Don't know if she smokes, but she was going to start smoking yesterday. Like that God. I've seen so many funny TikToks of people, you can imagine, just creating the most hilarious TikToks on what this dancing could actually entail. Oh, that's so embarrassing. But once again, there was that article that came out of nowhere where they're saying that, you know, something had happened, and then another source was like, actually, that wasn't even in the right schedule. So I don't know. But there's a photographer out there, there's a videographer out there that literally has this on camera. Show it to us. I want to see it. My wife has been consistently disrespected by my family, no matter how bad we've tried to come together as one. My mum has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that were clearly intended to make us both uncomfortable. Oh, yeah, I think... Is it Cruz? One of them is going out with one of the other brothers' like ex-girlfriends or something, which I did find a little bit weird.
So I was just reading a news article, and yeah, Brooklyn's ex, Kim Turnbull, and Romeo, who is the second eldest, rekindled their romance. After he claimed Victoria obviously said that about repeatedly inviting women. Yeah, that's not good. But whether or not Victoria co-signed that and put them together, maybe that's Brooklyn's interpretation of it, or that is actually what happened. Either way, yeah, that's weird. That is a bit weird.
Despite this, we still travelled to London for my dad's birthday and were rejected for a week. As we waited in our hotel room trying to plan quality time with him, he refused all of our big attempts unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. Later, when my family travelled to LA, they refused to see me at all. Yeah, so there was a big song and dance last year about Brooklyn and Nicola not turning up to David's 50th birthday. My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. We've gone out of our way for years to show up and support at every fashion show, every party and every press activity to show our perfect family. But the one time my wife asked for my mum's support to save displaced dogs during the LA fires, my mum refused. I do understand that Brand Beckham, I do agree that they are much more of a brand. They come across much of a brand than a family. Well, they primarily live in their grand townhouse in Holland Park, West London. Very nice indeed. They also have a country estate in the Cotswolds and having properties in Miami. I was looking that up because I was like trying to understand, does she want do they want her to take in dogs, or do they want to pay for dogs? None of us should be forcing each other to donate and to put money into things that they don't want to do. I don't know. We are adults. I will say they are wealthy enough to be able to just, especially for the dogs, man. The dogs. Save the dogs. I don't understand. Get that. I do also think as well that she could have easily have gone to her dad. He could have literally have rescued every single dog and paid for every single possible thing, and it wouldn't have even dented his bank account. I will say that. But yes, she could have posted on social media something nice. End of the day, you want to do nice things for your family. No matter what it is, you want to support your family's endeavours. And the way that Brooklyn is phrasing it, kind of implying that they're constantly showing up for David and Victoria, but it cannot be said the same for the other way around. And that must be really frustrating. That must be really, really frustrating. The last bit says, the narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety for the first time in my life since stepping away from my family. That anxiety has disappeared. I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and have found peace and relief. My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family. That shook everything up yesterday, and I have this sneaky little suspicion that Brooklyn and Nicola are going to create a reality TV show. I just feel it. I feel it. You can say 1 year from now, 2 years from now. That is what's going to happen. Bet you. And number 2, Victoria and David are going to be on ITV News. They're going to be on Good Morning Britain in the next freaking 48 hours doing a piece. That's what I think. Look, I need to see those tapes. I need to see the tapes. The videographer has them. Release the tapes. Someone, there's 500 of you there. Someone must have tapes of Victoria dancing. I want to see the receipt of this dress. Like, there are some things to what he's saying that me personally, I don't need proof to be able to decide how I feel about it. I do feel that he was controlled. I do feel like he was thrust into the limelight. They just wanted what was best. They wanted to, carry on the family name. But at the end of the day, they're putting business in front of a person. And that is never allowed. That shouldn't be okay. And that's doing kids a disservice and doing people a disservice. I understand where he's coming from with that. I don't know whether or not Nicola is the one that's the problem towards his family. I don't know whether or not Victoria was the problem towards Nicola's family. I don't know because it feels like they're both kind of saying different things. Could this be a situation where Nicola is actually this really controlling, nasty person, and it's going to come out in 5 more years that he was emotionally abused by her and stuff? Yeah, that could happen. But equally, it could come out that actually, yeah, Victoria Beckham is a toxic boy mum who was really, really, really mean to her son's wife. Yeah. This is what I mean. I'm literally on no side. I'm on no side. I need to know more information. I want to hear everyone else's thoughts and feelings about this though. But I will definitely be keeping an eye on this. Don't worry, this will not be the last of this because I'm waiting for the news announcement that will most notably it'll be happening. But thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope this is my child's pen, by the way. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.